Okay, thank you for watching. Bear with me. Got a couple things going on in the background there. Okay. Thank you for watching here on YouTube at A Blooming Light. Okay. I believe the topic says um, communal narcissism. Okay. What is communal narcissism? Understanding communal narcissism. If you're looking at the thumbnail picture as well. And so, before I get into all that, no, I'm not a therapist. No, I'm not a doctor. No, um, I'm not proclaiming to have all the answers. No, I'm not proclaiming to believe that my experience, my understanding of all of this stuff is like absolute. Okay. But I am someone that is a survivor of various different forms of narcissistic abuse and for majority of my life. And it took me on a path of discovery. It took me on a path to start to study and research and get help. Some of the help that turned out to not be help, but it took me on the path to start expanding and looking into it instead of just, sitting and going, oh, it took me on the path to say, you know what is this? Okay. What is this? I just know that this is off and something is terribly wrong with it. And that's how I've gotten here. The reason I chose today to speak about communal narcissism is because, in my opinion, it's one of the most insidious forms of covert style of narcissism. And it's more insidious because communal is implying that these are people who, on the surface, will appear to be the world's leading philanthropist or a community, a place, a group. They are the ones who are very charitable. They're going to be the ones that you see are the first to always seem to want to help people, giving, donating. Um, Whether this is to friends and family or major causes. And so this is why it's insidious because, again, there's nobody that's going to naturally believe or associate someone that seems to be so generous with their resources as somebody narcissistic. It almost seemed counterintuitive. It almost seemed um, like the total opposite, like they could not go together because most narcissists are known to be selfish, okay? Self centered, selfish, stingy, that's the common association. But that's only because we don't really understand narcissism in its totality and what it really is, okay? So add in the element of somebody like I resonate as somebody that's a targeted individual, okay? So when someone is a targeted individual and you bridge in communal narcissism with those two things, right? Targeted individual, communal narcissism. The reason why that's insidious, but the reason why it's one of the most common forms used in these cases is because the targeted individual's life has been compromised and sabotaged on every angle from the beginning. There's been background energies throughout their lives from the beginning, kind of playing God, okay? Which it's basically the energy I'm gonna throw the rock and hide my hand. And then I'm gonna reach out my hand as the savior. I'm gonna say that again. I'm gonna throw the rock, I'm gonna hide my hand, and then I'm going to later reach out my hand as the savior of the situation in which I secretly had something to do with. I'm going to say it once more. With communal narcissism, the premise is I'm going to throw the rock being an obstacle, a challenge, a dilemma, a problem, a situation. I'm going to throw the rock, but hide my hand. Hide my hand, meaning no one is going to see that. No one is going to know that. No one is going to perceive of that. then reach out my hand as a savior. That's the hand that everyone will see. That's the hand that comes in with the communal narcissism. I'm going to reach out my hand, the same hand that threw the rock, but I'm going to reach out my hand as a helper, as a savior. This is the part where they get this, reputation of being a helper, being a supporter, being someone who is very generous and kind and always the first to show up and the last to leave, the one that's always willing to take the shirt off their back, or at least that's what you perceive, the one that's always willing to go the extra mile to donate to a cause or to give something to a family member or a friend, or it's going to be those. Okay. But you didn't get to see the part where they threw the rock. Okay. That's what makes it insidious. As it pertains to targeted individuals, this happens because this is how they need to gain access. As the targeted individuals start knocking down obstacles, as they continue to heal, grow, evolve, become stronger, whatever you want to call it, and as they surpass whatever these people predicted for them at various different junctures. Okay. Because most of the time people are basically trying to size them up, evaluate them, make an analogy on that. Okay, this person, blah, 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 blah. And as they surpass that, okay, they go, okay, what can we do? What can we do? So create the vulnerability. Okay. But also show up as the savior. And the reason why somebody's going to say, well, why would they need to do that? Like, okay, why would they spend money in which they love? Okay, most narcissists. Why would they spend money and their resources that they won't get back? Well, here it is, because they perceive that they will get it back, because that's only to entrap. That's to have access. That's to gain trust. That's to simultaneously look good. So you see that? So you get to look like this really great group, this really great organization, this really great family, this really great community, this really great person by way of your, continual selfless acts of always rescuing somebody, or always, giving something to a poor community, or just you get to gain. I look how generous. So you see that double effect that the communal narcissists get, their supply, the feed that they get to get off of that, while they know what their insidious plan is. They know that their insidious plan is to, gain off of that particular target, whether this is something energetic, spiritual and energetic, whether this is to do with bounty hunting and a price on people's heads being offered like a lottery ticket, whether this is, some type of, you can guarantee it's something that they are hoping to attain. Otherwise, they are not willing to just simply foot the bill. I guarantee that. Okay. They are not. I'm telling you right now, they do not like losing money. Okay. So they're not going to be just all too willing to do that unless they perceived or was given something to say, hey, you may be footing out this, but we're going to give you 100,000. Okay, because you'll have access to their energy, and you're going to be able to create and whoop-de-whoop, and we're going to do this spell, and you'll be able to get a promotion. We'll do, like, they offer. That's why they're willing to go ahead and say, all right, then I'll put 1,000. I'll take a temporary loss, a temporary decline for the escalade that I'm going to get 6 months later, for the position, for the fame and acclaim. It just depends on what it is that they are going for. Okay. The reason why I like to talk about this stuff is because in real time, as it plays out, there's no commentator. And this is the part I think most humans just, they just go, phew. There's no commentator for none of us floating around in the back of our head, right? As we're looking and experiencing life and seeing certain situations to reveal the truth of what we're experiencing. Because remember, on the surface, we said, throw the rock and hide the hand. So hide, hidden, is implying to us that you are not going to know that. You're not going to have any reason to see that. It's not going to be a name tag. It's not going to be a little peephole. There's not going to be anything there for you to visibly look at and say, oh yeah, sure, this is some bullshit. And with communal narcissism, it's challenging because there's nobody on average that is going to believe that someone so generous could be a narcissist, could be toxic. It doesn't go together. You see it? What do you mean? Even when you talk about it, if you tried with the person, this person is always the first here, the last to go. This person is always, you know what I'm saying, the first ones to be willing to foot the bill. This person is always rescuing so-and-so financially. We're talking about money because we're talking about communal narcissism. Okay, this person, it does not go together. How are they narcissists? How could they be? They sacrifice too much. How could they be? They're always given to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. They're always given to the Autism of Society Foundation. They're always given to the breast cancer survivors, blah, blah, blah. They're always, at the soup kitchen volunteering. They're always calling everybody just to, that's another. They're always, how could that be? They're so charismatic. They're so, they're so mannered and well mannered. They speak with everything we were taught in the South. Yes, ma'am, and yes, sir, and cursing and shit. What do you mean they're not? That ain't even possible. They always take care of people, kids and shit. What do you mean, narcissists? That's why it serves to study. That's why it serves to expand your understanding about abuse, about psychology, about human personalities, even the malignant, malevolent types, because everything ain't roses and chocolate. Okay. If we look at, I hate to say it, it's a classic, but movies like Mommy Dearest, which was a movie from the 80s, but it's supposed to be based on a true story. Okay. And once again, we take the seat of, we're watching it like a movie, and we're seeing all of the ins and the outs of the behind the scene things that went on in these people's lives. But again, in real time, there's no commentators floating around with all these people that's in it, revealing to them all of the behind the scenes shit. So in real time, the things that they got were the aspects of the movie that we saw was making her look in a beautiful light. The aspects of her, this beautiful actress of Hollywood, just this, beautiful, talented, known for blah blah blah. You see her on the radio show, because it wasn't visual, so they had, I think it was a radio show for Christmas, and just she took in these two orphans, and so that's already coming with the oh. You see what I'm saying? Straight away, that comes with the element of, isn't that so sweet? Isn't that so kind? Look at the selflessness. She didn't have to do that. She decided, she made an active decision to go and get these orphaned kids and raise them as her own, even though she's an actress, right? Oh, so kind. She put them up and gave them a life that they would have never otherwise had. You see the layup? And then when, she does this publicity stunt, PR stunt for Christmas, okay, where they had this radio broadcast, and it was, oh, wasn't it so cute? Wasn't it so adorable? Where it was like, yes, and Merry Christmas, everybody. And look at these wonderful, gifts and blase. And it just, oh my God. And they did have a lot. They did to a degree, live this lavish life, that they wouldn't have otherwise lived, but it was convoluted with emotional, psychological, and physical abuse behind the scene. And it was this whole thing of, she put on this stunt for the radio show, but as soon as that radio show was over and her Johns were gone and the maid, you know what I'm saying, was asleep or whatever, or people who was too scared to ever challenge her or say anything about it, took the toys from the kids that she put on display to make sure that everyone knew that she gave them. The world needed to know how generous she was and how she gave these poor little orphan kids some fancy schmancy toys. She needed that because that's a part of the image. I'm a wonderful woman. I am a great woman of God, or I'm a wonderful, giving, philanthropic drunkard. But anyway, woman, because she was a drunken hussy. She was. But again, that was what she was perpetrating, and then just took the dream right from the kids. And they can do, what were they going to do? They were under, what were they going to do? She wasn't putting on TV. She wasn't broadcasting on TV when she was having emotional breakdowns on them kids, and when she was, slapping them and beating them with hangers, and that's not something that was video recorded, talked about, or ever shown. And the few people who knew, most of the time, were under her spell or extremely afraid, whether it be they would lose their job, livelihood, or whatever. So those kids basically had to live in Alcatraz. They had to live with the fact that everybody kept looking at this woman like she was the shiznit, when they knew full well something was wrong with her loopy ass. They knew she was off her rocker, and they had to learn how to manage her emotion behind the scene. Because depending on what kind of mood she was in any given day, in any given moment, was going to determine the degree of abuse that they received that particular day. And communal narcissism is the same. It's very financial. It's like financial exploitation, because these are the types that will exploit vulnerable populations. They become panderers and predators to these types. I can gain control in this situation. This person is going to be so desperate and not have any choice. I essentially can, keep them entrapped, seem like I'm trying to help, but make sure that they're not helped enough, or to make sure that they don't get the help to evolve past me, so that I can continue to have the access and the power and the control in which I want to have. So that's considered financial abuse. So in the background, they try to limit people's agencies, people's autonomy in very passive aggressive ways. I want to manipulate them so they can need me. I want to act like I'm helping, but then tell them, think of it like this. That's like them telling you, giving you a job lead so that they can seem like they're helping you, so that you can be excited, so that they can tell everybody that they gave you some information to help you out. And then simultaneously knowing full well that they are sabotaging you, telling the person that maybe they want to reconsider. So it's like you wasting your time, but they still get to come out looking like they have tried to help you. And then at the same time, they get to make you look like you're just simply incapable. Once again, this is all behind the scene. This is not something on anybody's name tag. This is not something that's going to be visible to people to just sit up there and be able to look at and go, oh, okay, yeah, no. It's going to look like there are these world renowned, okay, and that's important to know when you're, especially as you're dealing with targeted individuals, because their lives are being sabotaged behind the scene in this way. But these are also the same people who will turn around and act like they want to help them. And that help is for the entrapment that they have in mind. That help is to attempt to keep them limited and restricted or controlled in a narrative or space in which they want them for their personal goal. So targeted individuals, depending on where you are with your process, you might be catching up to this pattern. You might be starting to see pattern recognition, because one of the meat and potatoes and bread and butter of how these people, powers to be, whatever they are, it, thing, whatever, okay, is the exploitation of your vulnerability. I'm gonna give some few examples. Let's say you're somebody that, because they study you now. Okay, y'all can keep that in mind. So let's say you're someone that you're into like holistic shit, like you're into holistic medicine and approach to life and everything else. Not that you're against traditional, but maybe you lean towards that and you're always looking into it. So you might be someone, that goes into energy work like Reiki, prana. Um, you might be someone who goes to like these, medical spa type places, and you might be into all these things. And you know what they do with that? Now, this is to not to make you upset or afraid or like, wow. Your senses is going to help guide you through some of it as you catch it. When you accept that no holds barred, there is no area of your life that they're not attempting to access and exploit if they can. Okay. So it'll look something like this. They know you're having a financial struggle, but they know that you're into certain things, and they have been able to access said place. Then what they will do is maybe get this person, that business, or whatever, Okay. There will suddenly be a sale. Okay. You'll get some kind of message, an email, a text, something where it's like, we're giving away, free B12 shots, nigga. Just some random. I'm just throwing out there as random. Okay. Now, on the surface, let's pretend like we just didn't have this conversation. And on the surface, what does that sound like to you? Sounds like it's synchronicity. It sounds like this is divine intervention for you to be able to do the things that you would normally do, but you just simply don't have the funds and the means to do so. Tricky, huh? Listen, here's a clue of how to tell the difference. Okay, and it's not the one and only. This is not absolute, but I can tell you this. Let's say you already had some odd feelings about a particular business. Maybe you've already had dreams, or you had some off kind of experiences with them that was already kind of leading you to the idea that something or somebody within them, it wasn't right. Okay. And you already decided maybe you pulled back just based on that, because maybe you had it more than one time. Maybe you gave yourself like a pattern. If I can find a pattern, then I'm going to go ahead and pull back. Maybe that's something that you used to do. One time it could be a fluke. I could be off and I can be having a bad day. 2 times, okay, I don't know. 3rd time, okay, yeah, nah. Now, okay, having a dream, blah, 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 okay. And then decide, okay, I'm just going to pull back. This don't have to be a bullhorn experience. It's just, I see what I see. I know what I know. And as you pull back, and let's say some time span, months go by, and you just never go back, right? And then you start getting all these phone calls from them. You start, and at first you go, oh, that's what normal business do. That's an attempt to kind of get you to, come back and participate and blah, blah, blah. That's how you're going to know the difference. And then when you, from that same place, you can get a call or a message. It's like, okay, blah, blah, blah. Allow your judgment, your discernment from what you already had to kick in. Like, what makes it different now because they're offering free B12 shots or whatever? That's access to you. That's access to your energy. Not just your money. It's access to your money for sure. Okay. But it's access to your energy, to your body, to your presence, to do whatever weird things they're doing. Okay. But more than that, it depends on how mentally ill these folks and groups are. They will possibly sabotage those things. I'm just going to say it like that. Okay. If you went in and say, oh, free B12, yay, it's a synchronicity. And, it take them 30 minutes to seem to get one needle and shit, bitch. Just like, yeah, and you in another room and shit. You know what I'm trying to say? Weird behavior. Okay. Now, I don't want to spook you. There's always things, depending on where you're aligned at, that you can do in these moments. Okay. They exploit vulnerability. Communal narcs exploit the scarcity, the lack that's been manufactured for you. This is also why communal narcs are behind attempting, when you prosper, they're the same ones, follow me, that on the surface to everybody else act like a cheerleader towards you, acted like they wanted the best for you, acted like they wanted to see you happy and thriving and successful, act like they're not hating on you, act blase, blase, blase. But these are the same ones that, as it becomes a known fact about your progression and your successes, these are the same individuals that then begin to plot with the other toxicities to attempt to find a new and innovative way, a new and innovative way to sabotage. Because guess what? That represents them losing power and losing access to be able to look like a hero or keep you in some kind of restriction. It also do away with this whole fantasy they hold of you being some kind of weak, beggar that can't seem to get themselves together, and them being fake superior and fake better than. But in order to keep that going, they need to sabotage your progression, because if you keep growing, then it's like they can't, keep that propaganda of, oh my God, they just cannot seem to get it together. And they just don't, oh my God, yeah, I'm so happy that I am so successful. I'm so happy I am the new Michelle Obama. Okay. I'm so happy I am the next Kennedy. Okay. I'm so happy. Like, ain't I fine? Ain't I? Resfusion shit. Their asses is Resfusion. Their motherfucking asses is Resfusion. The Lattimores. They the fucking Lattimores. They're the Lattimores. Okay. But some of them try to act like they're not Lattimores. But the truth is they are. To the world, they try to act all classy and cleaned up. You see what I'm saying? They try to put on this persona of, we clean, we sound, we're women and men of God and valor and virtue, and we're evolved and consciously woke and expanded, and we're loving beings. But behind the scene, they're the Lattimores. They're the fucking Lattimores. Resfusia and shit. And we're not talking about appearance. So y'all don't come in here thinking that I'm not into that. Okay. Karmics are, though. They love finding something, to pick at about people's appearance, even though they can't even see their own properly. That's another video, though. Okay. That's a whole nother fucking video. The Resfusia thing is about her spirit, who she is, her attitude, her way of being, not her size or her shape or her color or her ethnicity. Okay. You can have a Barbie doll Resfusia that's all 110 pounds. Okay. Blonde hair, blue eyes. Okay. That's not it. And she can even hold a persona of softness, but the energy behind it, cutthroat, manipulative, hypocritical, everything that Resfusia actually is in that movie, a fucking bully, but a passive aggressive version of that. Right? That's communal narcissism, because they have one persona, but then the truth is they're opportunist, and they will sabotage people so that they can have access, so that they can also come off as people that they actually aren't. True philanthropic, kind, and generous energy doesn't come with abuse. I just need to say that. Okay, just for the record. True philanthropic, generosity, charity, and kindness does not come with abuse to the said person, group, or individuals in which you are giving to. So it does not dehumanize them. It does not exploit their life, their mind, their body, their soul, their resources, their autonomy. It does not exploit their human or civil rights. It does not exploit their identity. Their personal agency and rights. So it does not cross that true, philanthropic, charity, generosity, and kindness. That's why we're starting to call it fake kindness, because it comes with all these conditions that are abusive. I should be able to get to bully and control you because I'm giving you some resource. I should be able to violate your privacy because I'm helping you out. I should be able to blase, blase, blase. I should be able to control your life and keep you here because I want you to be here because it serves me. On a targeted individual scale, once again, that's all about their fear. And the control and the experiment and so forth, and what they fear happening when you're breaking free, and all of these things from exposure, which is a narcissistic individual's or group's nightmare. That's narcissism 101. What they fear most is exposure. They do not care about arguments. They don't care about that. They're agents of chaos. Okay? So they actually thrive in that. They're agents of mess. They don't care about somebody getting loud and an ultimatum or a threat or some, slight remark or some slight look. They really don't care. They thrive on it. It makes them feel relevant. What I find fascinating about these narcs is that they're often behind humiliation rituals on the target individual, but they themselves can't fade humiliation. I figured this out about them too. They can't fade it. I mean, they crack. They can't fade it. They can't handle a smidgy little bit. They fucking crack because it's paired with this psychopathy. It's paired with sociopathic energy, which is everything is about image. Everything is about reputation, even if it's false, a fake one that they done concocted. Though their whole missions be with similar people like themselves is to humiliate, to humiliate the targeted population. But boy, when the shit starts to hit the fan on them, and it eventually does, especially when you get to the right targeted individual. And that shit starts like, very well, you took your jollies off that. How about this for news? When it's their shit, oh my God. They can't handle it. That's their worst nightmare. You got to do your own research and studies to understand the whole dynamic behind why is that their worst. Because there could be worse things, but for them, that's their worst. That's the worst thing. It could be worse things than that. To them, they'd rather die. That tells you something about them. They'd rather die, yo. They'd rather die. Y'all heard me? They'd rather physically die than to have the vulnerability of because some of them know that they're pretty sick. The vulnerability of the sickness and the darkness that they're into, because now it's like a shattering of the world as they know it. So all of that high honor that they have manufactured from others to get them to hold them in high honor comes crumbling down, because you can't unsee that. This is the thing. You can't unsee it. You can't unsee it. Once you know, you know. And it's just, that's it. Ain't no changing that. Ain't no erase backspace. Ain't no spell potent enough to change The fact that oh yeah, I don't know why they didn't have you in the hospital a long time ago. I don't even know why they let people like you loose. Why are you even loose? Why are people like you loose in the earth at all, bitch? Like you can't get it out. You can't. It's there. It's like a fucking it's branded there like there's something wrong with them. Um and it maybe it's a part of them that knows that there's really no coming back. You know, there's how do you salvage some of the stuff? And that's hard to do. It's hard to claim mistake when somebody finds out that this has been a lifetime of shit. It's hard to do that. It's hard to say, I you know, I just made a mistake. It was just a situational, circumstantial thing. It's like for not a 30-year one, no. It was just, a season of 4 years of fuckery, of premeditated bullshit. Circumstantial implies that this is something that was not premeditated. It wasn't something, because premeditation is just that, premeditated. It was a predetermination, a pre-plan. It wasn't this is what happened, and as a result, I found myself in a season of and blase. This was, nah, nigga, this is your profession. You should put this on your resume. This is what you do. You went to school for it, you studied and graduated. And this is your profession. This is who you are. This is what you do. You and your group. This is who you are. And so it's hard to wiggle through that. It's hard to wiggle before a judge that's a non-corruptible one. It's hard to wiggle before, you know what I'm saying, anybody, groups, families, individuals that their spells won't work on or they're non-corruptible. It's hard because the people that they're gonna be sitting there looking stone faced, gray rocking and shit. Like, okay. And it's devastating, but that's the devastation that must take place for these types of dynamics to crumble. This is why they blackmail, bribe, and bully. I call it the 3 B's. Because whichever one's going to stick. Blackmail, bribe, and bully. In order to keep their illusions going for as long as they can. Targeted individual, as you continue this whole transformation and you're picking up the way they exploit communal narcissism, your vulnerabilities, situations, your love life, you're learning these different aspects and areas that how they're coming in with that. Oh, this person probably lonely. Send in the hoes. Simple dimple, isn't it? They lonely, they're isolated because we did some lonely isolation spell or whatever, or we did some, weird shit, friendless in the wilderness, in the fucking sticks, fucking country, bumpkin ass. You know what I'm saying? So now they're going to be, bring in the hoes, bring in the niggas. So I'm sorry. And they'll do stuff like, I had situations happen in Nevada, and I got to get going here in Nevada, where it was like they had manufactured shit and I was still overcoming and I was okay, but they manufactured, then they'll try to show up and be like, you hungry? You want something to eat? Why? So you can give some poisonous shit? See, so y'all got to catch it. So you can lace some shit, nigga. or put some spell shika shimmy cocoa puffs, on some shit. They know you like makeup. I'm telling y'all, I got stories. I got stories up the yang. They know you like makeup and skincare type shit. You could have been into this since like ever. Okay. I'm telling you. And then if you in a season of struggle because of the shit they've been doing, it's gonna seem like synchronicity. It's gonna seem like it's people that just so happen um, to want to help. But just feel into it, because this is what we're learning how to do again. The subtle energy. Because sometimes it is, and then sometimes it isn't. Sometimes they're a fucking op working right at CVS in fucking Las Vegas, Nevada. Okay? Because some of these times they asking you questions that's telling you who the fuck they actually are. Okay? Because ain't nobody, what the fuck? What, what you, what you giving me, bitch? Shimmy, shimmy, cocoa bubbles. Like, anyway, let me get going. And then other times it is, okay? There's beautiful energies out there. But they're raw, rare, few, and in between. So we just, and I mean that. I mean that. You got to really, I mean that. Energy vampires, destiny swappers, Jezebels, you know what I'm saying? Haters, all these people, these beings, these its wanting access to your energy. And this is covert, passive aggressive type of siphoning and swapping and all of that shit. And the more we get on it, the harder it becomes for them. Trust me. That's why they're amping up and doing some of the things they're doing now, which is going to explode in their face like everything else has. I got to go now.